As many of you guys may have noticed, my videos have been getting less and less common over the last several months. Nothing's wrong, I've just been deep diving into the world of VR chat with every waking, non-work moment of my life. At some point over the last 2 years, scrolling over the pages of DigiKey, Mouser, and LCSC, looking at all of the out-of-stock electronics, it just became a lot less interesting to me. And this platform that I had just begun to dip my toes into became much more captivating. I wanted to share with all of you guys some of the most compelling, entertaining, and intellectually moving themes I found on this online universe. From being able to meet other people that were just like me, or to be able to hang out in a virtual Kmart with my mom, staffed with role-playing employees, while she was on the other side of the country, to exploring the depths of what's possible when thousands of smart people are given a true sandbox to run wild in. If all you know of VR chat is Uganda Knuckles and Frederick Blue, I'd like to show you some of the corners of this cyberverse that I frequent. Strap in, losers. We're about to go to Treehouse in the Shade. Treehouse in the Shade is a VR chat map written by 1001 in Skern. Unfortunately, 1001 has passed away. But Skern is still here and even active in making shaders and doing ridiculous things with their avatars. More on that later. Everything in VR chat is a Unity asset, and the restrictions placed on what those assets can contain are very loose, which means people have been able to write shaders which can be part of avatars or worlds. For those not in the know, shaders are small programs that run on your graphics card instead of your CPU, letting users customize the appearance of any 3D asset programmatically, sometimes just giving it a different look and feel, other times for much more. They're naturally sandboxed and bonkers fast. Anyway, there's a website called ShaderToy, which is where people from around the world can work on shaders, and it runs inside of your web browser. 1001 and Skern went through a lot of these little programs and painstakingly adapted them for VR. So, when we go to this map, we see all these beautiful scenes made of these little programs. In this map, the only things that are made out of triangles are the players and the treehouse itself. Everything else is an implicit mathematical function that's defined by these programs that are running on our GPUs. No modeling, no texturing, just code. ShaderToy is designed to operate in a little window in your web browser, but in VR chat you can come to experience these things firsthand, have a sense of presence. While just little functions, the shaders can feel real. Even if you aren't visiting VR chat with a VR headset, you can use just desktop mode. Being able to explore the space with your friends can be immersive. Being able to fly around this treehouse in this virtual world and being able to dodge through these columns, it's just amazing. It's so much fun to be able to explore these worlds in a way that's so open with your friends. If you're a Quest user, you'll only be able to partake in some of the VR chat experiences before you connect your headset to your VR-ready PC. But as soon as you do, or if you're already a PC VR user, I think that just for about everybody, Treehouse in the Shade needs to be one of their first VR chat experiences. People have been exploring digital social platforms since the 1970s, originally starting with text-based multi-user dungeons, or MUDs as they're called. Nerds from around the world took to understand what it means to socially relate over a digital medium, and that medium evolved many different ways on many different platforms. Graphics evolved from 2D to 3D, but in 2014, VRChat realized that when you bring VR into the equation, you get something really special. It's an entirely new avenue of an immersion, both for you and for those interacting with you. Much like the VR headsets of today, VRChat looks and feels almost nothing like VRChat from 2014. They've had 7 years to grow and learn with their user base and first-hand experience. It's difficult for me to explain why this is so captivating. People have always said it's like you're there with each successive technology: radio, recordings, video, and HD. But with VR, it's like you're really there. Many other platforms have come and gone, rising in popularity and falling. Some were very compelling, just in different ways. VRChat, however, stands alone insofar as how weird the decisions they made seem. No one would engineer a platform this way. Nobody would plan this glorious mess. No architect would design a system like this. But from the inside, you can start to see why these decisions were the right decisions. As they've iterated, they found many parts of how conventional wisdom learned in meat space don't apply in cyberspace. Instead of defining the platform, they more or less let it be defined by the hundreds of thousands of users who've come to populate it. It's a Wild West level of freedom. Instead of a sanitized corporate view, it's a messy, organically grown from just a few users to over 50,000 concurrent users, and many times that in daily and monthly users, which has now formed an incredible multi-million-dollar economy. VRChat has opted to build a system that makes absolutely no sense from the outside, and they've leaned into it. Why so many anime and cat girls? Why are mirrors the single most important feature of any world? Why is the default home world so barren? Why can users upload almost anything that they want and call it an avatar? Yes, my friend Savannah's avatar was a photo booth for a bit. Why would you let users use any shaders that they want to apply any look and style to their avatar when it doesn't mishmash with the world and makes an inconsistent art style? Why are the worlds and activities so much less important than the nuance in avatars? Why does talking to a humanoid model sometimes feel a little weird, but talking to a fax machine feels perfectly normal? Why can't users create and upload avatars without spending some time on the platform? These all seem like obvious missteps or answers that don't make any sense. Some do have clear answers though, like that last one. Users can't upload without spending some time in VRC because they need to see and understand this world instead of come in with preconceived notions. And for the rest, when you finally dig into the platform, you can start to see why their answers to these questions make a lot of sense. It feels difficult for me to show you what presence feels like in a 2D screen, or why I think this is so compelling. It feels like trying to explain to an alien why they would want to come to this planet. It's the sights, the sounds, the people, the culture, and the art, the glimpse into humanity at this time and space, and it's that ephemeral that you can't afford to miss. For instance, with the loss of 1001, Skern doesn't have the map files. So, at some point, an update will happen to VRChat which will render Treehouse in the Shade unplayable. The worlds that you can experience in VRChat are an evanescent artifact of this time and place in cyberspace. So, I urge you, come join me, sooner than later. One counterintuitive aspect of social interaction is the importance of who you are over what you're doing. When first visiting VRChat, I dreamed up all of the worlds that I could create, that I could play in with my friends, and share experiences that I could author. But that's a lot of me's and I's, and as I've gotten into it more, I've come to understand that while worlds and activities have importance, users find their avatars far more important than I could have imagined. Worlds might have been what got me into VRChat, but it's not why I come back. It's the people I'm there for, the late-night conversations and connection. If I wanted to go somewhere for the place, I'd play Space Pirate Trainer, Beat Saber, Pistol Whip, or Alex. But VRChat has honestly been dominating the time that I've been spending in VR. A big part of this is the avatars. With little me's running around a world, you don't get the same sense of authenticity of a person that you're talking to as when it's somebody who's comfortable in their avatar. It's important to get more than a faint representation of a person. When avatar fidelity can increase, that authenticity can begin to bloom. VR renders unimportant the juxtaposition in art styles that would normally clash. Instead of seeing that clash, you see something elsewhere that's much harder to overcome. It's when people don't match their avatars. And I don't mean physically, as there are services like Ready Player Me that can generate avatars that reflect individuals' real-world selves if they choose. In practice, though, this choice of avatar is, well, rather unpopular. It's an amazing experience to talk to somebody who practically becomes their avatar, whether they're a bunch of barely connected glow sticks, a Nargacuga, beluga whale, hyena, or one of the many cat girls. Not that avatars are even locked in. Even if it's just for a moment, going on another level deeper and putting on a different character, or putting a costume on your current avatar for Halloween, it just matches. The rationale for why avatars matter so much is drastically different for everyone. For some, it may have its roots in dysphoria, to which people can find respite in VR. For others, they may have technical interests in what can be done with those avatars. For most, I think it's just fun. The Italians figured this out in the 16th century with their masquerade balls. There's something just fun about exploring other fictional identities, ones that don't reflect your body or even are a sense of reality altogether. The tests have been run time and time again, with shockingly popular mirror worlds as they're called. It shows that people care much more about their avatars. Many of these worlds have nothing more than a mirror so that people can see them and their friends' reflections. Mirrors are an incredibly curious phenomena. Nothing about VR screams, "Mirrors will be important!" But in VRChat, this phenomena has promulgated the platform. There's a lot of theories behind why this mirror dwelling is so pervasive. I don't have any hidden knowledge on the topic, but I do like some of the theories I've heard. Many avatars include cords to be used with their users' fingers. Controllers have a lot of input, and this enables users to puppet their own faces by moving their fingers around. This enables a much more expressive experience than with just Visemes alone, where the mouse mouth moves to the user's voice. Mirrors can provide these people with a kind of physical kinesthetic sense where actual proprioception doesn't exist. The users can see themselves how others around them see them, and they can close the loop on their expressions. Some avatars even provide a hub which includes a mirror so that users can see themselves for this purpose. Another idea is that mirrors augment the user's FOV, enabling users to see much more of their surroundings than they can normally see in a headset. While you don't get as much peripheral vision when you're in a headset, when you look at a mirror, you can see all of your friends at the same time while you're chatting with them, not just those sitting across from you. Mirrors also add to the realism for many with phantom touch, that by seeing others around them interact with their avatar, it makes those interactions that touch feel even more real. For some people, they're just kind of fascinated by their own avatar. It's something that they really love and are comfortable with, and by spending time in the mirror, it can sort of help that familiarity with the avatar being an extension of them. And I don't know, why ever people stick mirrors in bars. Another interesting idea is full body tracking. Many people aren't satisfied with the limitations of just having 3-point tracking, head and 2 controllers, and instead opt for 6-point tracking, including the waist and feet, so that they can have their avatar's body match their body. Some people just want to recline in a chair, perambulating around without having to get up and walk. There are entire communities of dancers in VR who just dance in VR, and it can be a ton of fun just to let loose and go wild with your friends dancing at a DJ party. Others, Infinity, RP, or Roleplay Walk by using their play space as their real-world play area. When they need to walk outside of the bounds of their real-world play space, they rotate the mapping of their play space and the virtual world. And by rotating, say counterclockwise, and then walking in a clockwise circle, they end up walking in a straight line in VR and are not limited by the constraints of their play area. Avatars are highly customizable, able to use custom armatures for interesting motion, unique shaders to give them an artistic feel, and gizmos to show their friends to use when navigating the virtual worlds or just make their visit to the virtual worlds a little bit more interesting. For instance, with the advent of AudioLink by Leialu, avatars can get audio input from the world so that they too can have visual effects and respond to the sound. That way the world's visual effects and all of the avatar's visual effects all sync up. The fidelity of what gets included with avatars is highly dependent on the person. Many mutes add drawing to their avatars. People who frequent the club scene may purposefully shoot for more jarring avatars. Furries sometimes have effects that look extra plush. People within the flourishing deaf community frequently have more articulate hands to be able to sign to one another with, or have other accessibility features. Overall, it's remarkable to see what happens when people are given the ability to express themselves to the prodigious degree that VRChat allows. A shockingly large number of people have installed Blender and Unity and embarked on a journey learning to take a base model and tweak it, adjusting textures, armatures, and appearance, reticulating splines and tweaking it out, or starting to upload their very first VRChat world. Very few people know how to do it all. Many are just interested in some aspects and pay artists one-off to work on their avatars in some areas that they might not be proficient in themselves. Or maybe just learn to use Unity and add assets that they buy off of Booth and Gumroad. There's a massive industry surrounding the content creation in VRChat, filled with artists, programmers, modelers, and just about everyone else, with stores like Booth selling everything from little crowns or masks to high-end digital SLR cameras that actually function, to full-on upload-ready avatars on Gumroad. The level of content creation is unbelievable. It's ridiculous how many people are making VRC content creation their full-time jobs, even in spite of there being large worlds where all the avatars are free. Dynamic Bone, for instance, an add-on used to provide springiness to armatures, went from a backwater tool to the best-selling add-on on the entire Unity asset store. The VRChat creator economy is booming. Many creators learn to use the tools to work on their own avatar, getting a base model, adding the things that they want, picking a nice toon shader like Poyomi, slide a bunch of sliders, tweaking their avatar to make it theirs. Other folks, like me, started with a strong programming background and some shader experience, so I found a base model and paid an artist to do some of the more detailed modeling work that I don't really have an eye for myself, and I use this as a basis for all sorts of neat experiments. The community I normally run in are the shader people, so the things that fascinate me the most are the flagrant use, and well, often misuse, of constructs to accomplish interesting technical feats. This is just a tiny cross-section of a much larger community, but it's the one that interests me the most, so it's the one I'm going to talk about. Artists with no shader background explored shader coding so that they can take their current avatar and add something really special or cute to it, like this shader bracelet. Professional geologists with no game dev background experience who just jump in and learn everything from shaders to the inner workings of Unity, building content like an avatar that transforms into the tram from Half-Life, and going on to provide the community with some really incredible tools. Programmers who skip content generation altogether for some of their avatars, like using a mathematically defined sign distance field B, or avatars which transport anybody nearby to their strawberry world. Some people with virtually no background in programming at all before coming to VRChat were able to learn about shaders and C# coding from the community, and then share their first programming projects with their friends. People who wanted to build a ball pit or pool as part of their avatars so that they and their friends could just play in it wherever they went, and the impact that they had on me, laying the groundwork for my world, CN's ball pit and lo-fi. And remember Skern, the co-author of Treehouse in the Shade from earlier? Well, they've been leveraging those shaders to run AIs on avatars on the GPU. Everything from a chess engine with an AI built out of nothing other than surfaces with render buffers and cameras pointed at them, a robotic dog AI Tupper that can perform voice recognition by looking at a representation of the player's mouth, a transformer English to Japanese translator, to full-on multi-layer convolutional neural network object classifiers that can use a camera in the virtual world looking at objects and classifying them, baking an entire neural network down into a 2D texture. The running gag is, as we as a species have made these rocks to think, and to be fair, we flattened them out and shot lightning into the first. That's what our computer chips are. Well, Skern takes it to another level, making these thinking rocks inside of our computers imagine a whole new world where they take imaginary rocks, flatten them out, shoot lightning into them, and make those meta rocks think. Though most of my focus has been on avatars, there is a vibrant world creation community filled with incredible people. There are breathtaking worlds, some of which can unfold into deep storylines. Some have an enormous amount of care put into them to make them extra social, and others yet have probed the depths of just how cozy something digital can feel. But for me, it's about the technical. Worlds are given a much more powerful set of tools to work with than avatars. For instance, there is no mechanism to let you execute normal code on the CPU from an avatar. But with Worlds, you get access to much of the Unity API and exposure to the VRChat API through a node-based language called Udon. This development was bolstered by a community developer who made Udon Sharp, which lets world creators code in plain old C#. One with an amazing journey through breathtaking avatar shaders and incredible worlds before they hit their stride making these tools. A wild me, Shangwu, with no background in shaders or games at all as best as we can tell, pushing past the limitations that we thought existed, performing linear cosine transformations to create hyper-realistic lighting for worlds, GPU-based audio effects, and a tool to capture player motion as a YouTube video, and to be able to play it back, puppeting avatars for dance or education so that users can see that motion in a much clearer way than you could with just a video. An owner of a real-life club who, when the global events happened, turned their sights to VR and launched a private club, one where you have to know somebody to get in, where they can get to know you and your story. A military veteran making a map filled with the words and feelings that they found to be most touching and meaningful, frequently hang out in public instances so that you too can meet one of the most fascinating individuals I know. Or even an active VR technical artist who knows their way around this entire toolset, but who wants to dive deeper and go further into the future with a community that will help them hone their craft and push the state of art beyond what many could imagine. Some people think that virtual platforms would gain some benefit from generating all of these tools in-house and being the sole source for the users to use. But with VRChat, everything except the most core and fundamental components that constitute VRChat avatars and worlds are made by the community surrounding it. Not needing to wait on programmers inside the corporation to decide upon things and adhere to release cycles and maintenance cycles, everything from Udon Sharp to AudioLink, World Creator Toolkit to CyanEmu have all been written by creators in the community. There's countless worlds and captivating experiences to be had, but for me, content creation is what makes VRChat a game. It's the game of trying to figure out how to use a bunch of limited, scuffed constructs in a way to bring about some amazing effects. It's played across Discord servers and late-night discussions, explorations by teams of people, each applying their skills and abilities to further what's possible in VR. Everyone's interests are different, and VRChat has a home for them all. Even though what drew me in most was the shaders, there are communities of those who went out clubbing in the before times, musicians or artists, modelers, designers, programmers and engineers, furries, all matter of ilk, and congoers, shut-ins, mini-golf enthusiasts, people who are just lonely or looking to go on an adventure, gamers, people who are interested in sign language, and even a straight-up wizard. I'd really like to share some of these stories with you someday, but for now, let's start with my story. I'm an engineer, and because of inspiration from Dr. Marco Lano, my computer science 435 graphics professor, I learned pixel shaders in college, which led me to make some of my very first YouTube videos all the way back in 2007, and then later ones like No Euclid. But that was it until late 2020. MagFest wasn't going to happen in 2021. I was contacted by some VRChat players who wanted to make a party in VRChat. I didn't think that there was anywhere I'd be able to fit in, but they said, "Oh, you can make shaders in VRChat." I thought they were kidding or didn't understand. Nope, boy was I wrong. I dove in, I made an account, strapped on the full body tracking, and Madman from MagFest greeted me to show me around. Without that, I would have been lost. It would have been difficult to find the communities that I grew with over this last year. And I urge you too to find a guide, or a friend with VRChat if you can, and assuming this video doesn't go viral, I'd love to show you around a little myself maybe, from my Discord server. One of the first people that Madman introduced me to was TCL. Yes, that TCL. Except now my once viewer of live streams many years later works for VRChat. It was wonderful to see the wild things that people could make and talk to the folks who made the content that I was exploring. Friending people increased my trust rank and unlocked world and asset uploads. I came to really love this platform and the people on it. I started writing shader effects for the worlds that my friends like Texelsor and GP Lord were making for various events. I found Lealu and was able to port Color Chord over to AudioLink and VRChat, which is now included in some of the biggest venues. I started documenting everything that I thought was cool in shader tricks. I worked on my ball pit, CN's ball pit and Lo-Fi, which just hit Spotlight. I've been working on new object sync systems. I have so many stories and things that I want to make videos on now. And hopefully with this omnibus of a video out of the way, I'll be able to start making some of those smaller videos. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. I've found my friends that I want to run with. I want to live this future with, in this cyberverse that we're making right here and right now. Fundamentally, VRChat is about connection. It's a convention that just never ends, where you can meet new people and hang out with old ones. I can go world hopping with my mom who lives on the other side of the country. I could show her the shaders that I'm submitting to an upcoming art show or the projects that I've been working on recently. I can visit museums with my friends that have art that can't be represented in this world, or go on other escapades with my friends that we never could have imagined. In social VR, having a virtual presence produces a less toxic interaction than the anonymity of text alone. That's not to say public lobbies aren't sometimes a cancer, but as you find your crew, you can have some really gratifying experiences. When you run and push the boundaries, you start to see that games aren't fun because of their freedom. They're fun because your decisions matter. For me, it was becoming part of the creator community and working on projects. But others find communities of their own to invest in, and come to find that investment in themselves. VR Chat lets you experience art in a way that you never could have seen before. It lets others show the concepts in their mind's eye. I've loved exploring it, finding out what's touching, what's profound. To ask me why I think VR Chat is so compelling feels strange. It helps me to find and sing the song of my people. I've shared just a few of them with you. Find your people, run with them, find your song, and sing it at the top of your lungs. Seeing friends who I made in VR produce things that they found beautiful and find a fame all their own, to see them explore and grow in their knowledge and personhood. I love VR Chat for its connection. We don't have to wait for somebody who sits behind a desk to tell us what our future is. We already laid the groundwork, made it cities. Come and join us and let us make this a thriving metropolis, with people like Tiny Turtles here, who I just found one day visiting my ball pit.
I have only been at that for a little bit more than a month. So I'm a complete noob when it comes to shaders, and I'm sure there's a million ways that this could be made better and more efficient. Obviously I'm not a noob as a programmer. But yeah, no, this is my first time doing this. I've only been editing avatars since the beginning of the year, and I spent most of that time learning how to get good at texturing. And then AudioLink came along and changed everything, and this was the first time I really felt like I needed to start building my own shaders. I am older than people think. This month I turned 50. And VR Chat really reminds me very much of what the internet was like in the very early 90s. It was a sort of creative sandbox where you could do anything, and a kind of a Wild West, and it feels the same way in VR Chat. There's this sort of whole new world of creative possibilities that just seem endless right now, and I think we are at the beginning of something really important. And you know, when you're 50, you have to speedrun the future. You can't wait for it to come to you. There's so much creative energy here. And you know, I just found this place randomly once, and I was just blown away by it. And yeah, so this is fantastic, and I'm really happy to be here and part of it.